Good evening, Papua New Guinea, and welcome to another episode of Business PNG. Now, if you recall last week, Business PNG spoke to Commissioner for the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, Paulus Ein, about global fuel prices. Well, while we had him with us, he also touched on real estate prices in Port Moresby and how the ICCC is monitoring these prices. The high rental rate in Port Moresby and in some parts of the country has mainly been caused by limited supply of properties or houses. This problem has existed in the country, especially in the main urban centers, for over 20 years now. Although land is well recognized as a major constraint to urban housing development and the main contributor to the housing shortage, there are some other factors that also influence the supply of housing. Some of these factors are planning and building approval processes and procedures, availability of and access to infrastructure, availability of affordable and appropriate building materials, availability of skilled personnel in different market segments, and attractiveness of housing development projects to private investors.
The rental rates or rents at this stage is very high, and I agree with you. The problem, according to some of our independent assessment, is that there is a lack of availability of land for development. This appears to be one of the main, among other issues, that are associated with. The land is not released to the public for development of an housing. So, for example, now you see land are being freed up towards 8 Mile and 9 Mile area. You see a number of our homes, houses being developed. So this now frees some of the places that put pressure for prices. There's most likely price reductions will be realized. But if we do not release the land and the same areas and the same suburbs continue to remain, then there is a cycle of changing of hands. And as the new owners come in, new tenants come in, the price, the same old house, but the price keeps on increasing. So the problem in our view and according to our finding is that there appear to be lack of land availability for home development.
The government recognized the housing problems in the city, and in 2009 the Minister for Treasury formally requested the ICCC to undertake an inquiry into the state of the housing and real estate industry in the country. The purpose of the inquiry was to identify the impediments hindering the growth of the industry and make appropriate recommendations that the government could adopt in order to foster the growth and development of the industry.
This issue has been around for almost more than 20 years, and as far as I recall, those early days when Treasury, a number of studies have been undertaken, including ICCC has done its own independent studies in 2010 with a number of recommendations going back to government and in the process of implementation. And one of them was asked to develop a code that should guide the then landlord and the tenants and all these things. So we are basically developing this code now, and we more likely will release the outcome shortly.
The development of the codes of conduct is mainly to address the consumer issues in the residential building and real estate industry. The objectives of the codes of conduct include setting ethical standards of conduct for the real estate and residential building industry, establishing principles for fair trading in the industry, and providing for a dispute resolution process for complaints. After the break, we speak to Richard Knight, the former owner of the popular Loloata resort in the Central Province.
It comes from two Motu words, one of which is Loloa, which means hill, and Ta, which is the counting word for one in Motu, so it means one hill, literally one hill. Closer to Moresby is Lolorua, which is an island with two hills. Sometimes toyed with the idea of promoting it as the best capital city diving in the world. Well, they were making a comparison about their different career paths. Like Dietrich went off and joined the Americans, and Leni Riefenstahl stayed in Germany, and I shouldn't say took up with Hitler, though some people will say she did. But she certainly worked under that regime. They both had similar careers building up to that point, and that's where she got into photography. Then she did the Olympiad for Hitler, and then in later life she was recovering her image again and became a very famous photographer, cultural photographer.
But are you interested in art expression from that period in particular?
No, I've had the good benefit as far as I'm concerned. Some people wouldn't agree, but she came to PNG many times diving. The first time she came out here diving, she was 96. She only learnt to dive when she was 75. And so she came out here and she was underwater filming with a very specialised camera. So she was here in Kimby Bay, or Kimby Bay and here. And then she came back when she was 98 and filmed again. And then Max and I had the benefit of going over and visiting her in Munich. In the leading up to independence, then the Australian Airlines used to fly up here and do tours around the country. Fokker F-27s, Ansett and TAA used to send one or two flights each a week around the country, and they'd stop off in different locations. You know. But then once the department was canned in 1981 under the Somare government, actually.
Reason why?
Well, the attitude was, we don't want people coming here to gawk at us. So there was this idea that you were the subject of people just looking at you, and certain people didn't feel comfortable about that. I don't think there was any consultation to the beneficiaries, who would have been the local people who were collecting money for being the subjects, you know. I remember one of them being the cane swallowers. I can't remember the name of the village, but somewhere out of Goroka that they used to fly people into. That habit or that cultural aspect reappeared only, I think, 2 years ago in the Goroka show again, but it had been forgotten for the last 40 years. You know.
So if you put the mic, then it will be radio.
Well, I feel as though we're missing out a lot along the way. There's great potential here that we could do something with. And you're right, there's very few countries that are as spectacular as what PNG is. Not only under the water, but also the terrestrial stuff as well. Very high mountain range, tropical rainforests, good bird life, extraordinary bird life. It's very interesting marsupials. You know, it's got, and you know, lots of ocean, lots of islands. It's got an awful lot going for it, and pretty much exploited. Yeah. If you really wanted to stimulate agriculture, then develop a tourist industry. You just imagine what happens in a country like Fiji, where you've got 700,000 or 800,000 tourists a year. You've got a population of 800,000, so you've got one tourist for every person, basically. And just imagine how much food those people have to eat. And, you know, basically Fiji produces all that food itself. How many people are involved in producing the food to feed 800,000 people? It's hundreds of thousands of people. And they all earn good money for it. And of course it's not only agriculture. If you've got 800,000 people there, imagine how many buses and taxis and hire cars and things like that you need. You know, it's all these add-on things that drive a whole economy behind tourism. And then of course you've got the direct employment in the hotels and dive boats and whatever else it is. So we don't even think about employment. You know, we've got so few people employed in the country. Hardly anyone. You know, 400,000 out of a population of 9 million or something like that. It's nothing. The country's so much more spectacular, you know. Get our head around developing that industry here. With, you know, so much more perspective. There's so much more culture here. The country's so much more spectacular, you know. The reefs are so much more brilliant and better developed, you know. Just about every aspect of it is better in PNG than Fiji.
Coming up on the show, backed by popular demand, destinations featuring the beautiful Tufi resorts.
Tufi is a really, really special property. We've only been here a short time, but we're falling in love with the locals and the villages and the environment. It's so natural and pristine. Even though we're coming out of the drought season, it's still quite a green province compared to the highlands and the droughts throughout the country. And it's, yeah, the diving sites here are second to none in the world. Absolutely beautiful. And I guess for me, the most important thing is feeling safe and feeling comfortable and feeling free to wander around through our local area and being able to enjoy the natural environment. The hiking is amazing. We have some great hiking groups to tours to offer. And one of the specialties of Tufi is the relationship it has with local villages, and it's set up a local guest house program. So a lot of people arrive with us because we have our new airport. So we have 3 flights a week currently, and we'll be extending to a 4th flight for Sunday, which will hopefully open up the Japanese market as well. So with the guest houses, a lot of the guests come here and they'll stay a night or 2, and we'll transfer them across to one of the guest houses. Sometimes they bump to a 2nd guest house or a 3rd guest house, and then bump back to us for a night or 2. And it's an amazing program to support the local villages and give our guests a real natural organic experience that's just basically untouched by tourism. Cultural experience. The Papua New Guineans are very shy and quite timid, but they're so gorgeous when they get to know you. It's very, very pleasant to have them around. Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous, especially for snorkeling even around the fringes of the fjords. There's a lot of natural life left. There's a lot of turtles in the area, porpoises, dolphins. We spotted a dugong today, and yeah, it's just the visibility here for the snorkeling, and furthermore the diving is incredible. I've done a lot of diving around the world, but Papua New Guinea is just absolutely amazing. future, it's exciting to join the team at the time that we are. The owners, the amazing Honey family, they're really dedicated and passionate about the resort, and they want to take it to the next step and the next level. Apart from cleaning the grounds up and bringing the menus into a little bit more of a modern market with modern wines and working on the dining menu. We're adding a spa, a day spa with an addition of massage and a massage therapist for all the divers and hikers to enjoy those services. So if you're not a diver, you can still relax and enjoy swim in our beautiful pool. We're also adding a fire pit, so we'll have a whole wooden decking with a beautiful open fire pit, which will be quite special to enjoy whilst you're under the Oro stars. Take the jump and come and experience it for yourself. It's been unfortunate, you know, coming from Australia, PNG has had quite a bad rap because of the, you know, Port Moresby reputation and the media spin. But it's amazing. It's truly organic, and yeah, it's beautiful.
And that's all from us tonight. For more business news, if you'd like to view this episode again, visit MTV Online at the URL at the bottom of the screen. Or for up-to-the-minute business news and updates, like our page on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at BusinessPNG or on Tumblr. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Leanne Jarari, and this was Business PNG.